Good morning, beautiful, radiant femmes, beautiful people wherever you are. Rebecca Thompson here. Happy Monday to you. And let's talk about being conventional versus unconventional, because I'm sure many of you who do follow me perhaps are a little unconventional, and that's why you're here. But there can be times when it doesn't feel so great and times when it feels awesome. Now, I work with women to help them celebrate their awesomeness and their uniqueness because of what I'm about to share today. And if you've read the little blurb at the beginning of the live, this is why. Good morning, beautiful Melissa. Let us know as you're watching, whether you consider yourself conventional or unconventional. Let's sort of see what you see yourself as. Perhaps it's different in different areas. And like I said, I work with women to help them really celebrate their uniqueness, because as women in particular, I find so many women can spend a lot of their time doing for others, feeling into what others need, fulfilling all those shoulds, because they are not listening to their unique soul voice. They are listening to social norms. They are listening to these conventions and wanting to fulfill those in order to feel worthy. But what if, good morning, Nicole, what if you were worthy just by your inherent beingness? So the quote I've put on here this morning as the mantra is, the necessity is the mother of invention, right? And we all know that phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, because we know that when we have to, when the shit hits the fan, right? We have to get curious. We have to get unconventional. We have to think outside the box in order for those solutions to come. We have no choice. It's out of necessity. So why then don't we celebrate the unconventional in society? Why do we bow down to social norms? Why do we have these social agreements, these social contracts that squash the unconventional, that push down or cut down the tall poppy, that say you're a square peg in a round hole and you don't fit? Isn't that interesting, right? And why do we then perhaps turn that on ourselves and tell ourselves that we're not okay because we're different, or it's not okay to do this a certain way because everyone else is doing it that way? And we see this in so many ways. Right, so I'm not saying I have the answers for this. I can dig into and I can feel why we don't want this. And I think a lot of it is around fear of change. It's around, fear of loss of power. It's around fear of loss of control. It's around fear of our own sovereignty and standing up and being different because we've been persecuted for that in the past. But I just thought it's a really interesting one to pick apart a little bit. And I would love to hear your comments. So Melissa, Nicole, Samantha, anyone watching, do you feel that you're conventional or unconventional? And why is that? Now, some of you have heard this story before, but when I originally trained as a physio. I'm now more in the personal spiritual development world, but as a physio, I was told I was a square peg in a round hole and would never fit in. And that took me a while to process. I kind of always knew I was a little bit different, but I wasn't sure why. And I didn't realize that other people were picking up on that too. And it took me a long time to reconcile that and be okay with that. And now I'm not only okay with that, I fully celebrate that, because I don't want to be a square peg in a square hole or a round peg in a round hole. I don't want to fit societal norms. I don't want to be the same as everybody else. I don't think anyone else needs to be either. I want to celebrate my unique differences, and that has what has led me to be a leader in my field. That's what's led to me to be super successful. That is what has led me to help others find their unique voice, because what I have found for me is that there's this thing around agreements, right? There's these social norms, societal norms, and societal agreements that we sort of make because we are domesticated into this way of being from a very young age, right? We're all living, these very sort of familiar, similar lives with families and jobs and cars and houses. And right, there's a certain way that we see ourselves growing up and living and being. And we become domesticated and used to that. And then we decide that maybe we're not so comfortable with that. We feel like a little right? We feel a little and I felt that from an early age, right? This sense of being a seeker and feeling different, that I don't necessarily agree with some of these social agreements, or not that I don't agree with them. I don't necessarily think that there's a right and a wrong, but perhaps I feel that there's just another way that suits me better. right? And so there's a little, I don't quite feel fulfilled, or I don't quite feel like I fit in here, or I don't quite feel like this is the way for me. And therefore, a nice way I've found of putting it is that it's like my soul is not wanting to agree with the societal agreements, right? My mental agreements, my social agreements aren't lining up with my soul agreements. So I'm feeling a little out of whack in my center because something's not lining up for me. So then are we brave enough to listen to the soul and say, actually, this is what my soul is wanting. These are the agreements I want to make. This is how I want to live my life. And it's not necessarily how society is living it. Now, I'm not saying this has to be like huge, big societal change or a big way of living differently or fighting change. It's just showing up the way that you want to show up and not putting yourself down in particular for being different. I think that's the nugget that I really want to share is don't put yourself down for being different. If you are someone who is telling yourself, I'm not good enough because I do things differently, or I should be doing it this way, or I should be doing it that way, you need to learn to do it your way, to be okay with doing it your way. And this goes for so many things, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, whether it's just how you do your day. It goes in so many ways. Necessity is a mother of invention. But how about we celebrate the unconventional? Because now more than ever, we are needing creative solutions to interesting problems. Convention is the death of progress. Convention is the death of progress. We've all heard this. If you keep doing something the same way and you're not getting the results, we know that's crazy. And yet we keep looking at people that are different. I say the big we, society, and pulling them down if we're not comfortable with that. It's time to be more comfortable with the uncomfortable and celebrate the differences. And I think it's no mistake that we are seeing so many differences in, say, gender, in things like these labels of ADHD and Asperger's and transgender and all of this. My feeling is we're just being poked to welcome and celebrate the whole spectrum of anything that we could possibly show up as, and just stop putting everyone into boxes. So I'm getting a little off track here, starting to go off, but I really feel like these labels that we have start to create more social norms, more boxes, more differences that are acceptable or unacceptable, rather than just saying we are an incredible, unique, diverse, creative, just wondrous expressions of souls on this planet in these human bodies. We are incredible and we are amazing, and let's celebrate every different skill and every different expression of that, because we need as much diversity as possible right now in order to find creative solutions to these things that we have going on right now in the planet. So hold that with you in your heart today, beauties, or for this week, or for however long you want to hold this in, that you are amazing. Your differences are to be celebrated. You don't have to do things in any particular way or any particular order. The skill in being a soul, in this, having this human experience. Puppy's having a little bit of she's had her walk today, but she's still excited to see the other dogs. The skill in being a soul right now, having this human experience right now, the challenge is for us to be able to tune in to what our soul is wanting us to express in this lifetime, and not to be bowed down by social norms and squash ourselves. So if you're feeling that uncomfortableness, consider, is it that I am agreeing to some sort of societal agreements that my soul is saying that's not for me? And that might be around business, that might be around gender, that might be around anything. Yeah. I've been on this entrepreneurial business thing for a while, and we can get caught up in the trap, and Facebook can be one of the things that pulls us into a trap, that we have to do our business a certain way. There is a formula, there is a blueprint for being successful. There's not a blueprint for you being successful in life. There's not a blueprint or a formula for you being successful in business. It is about you tuning into what your soul is here for, what the agreements are you made with your soul pre this human experience, and being able to know when you are expressing that fully. And how do you know when you're expressing and tuning into that fully? Because it feels good, it feels joyful, it feels expansive, it feels exciting. Sometimes it feels scary, but it's an expansive feeling rather than a contracted feeling that I'm like somehow inhibiting myself. I'm somehow being funneled into something that I'm not feeling comfortable with. And if you aren't super clear about how to tune into your soul nature, about how to, prime your body, your mind, your energy for receiving that soul guidance, then find someone, whether it's me or somebody else, reach out. That's what I do. There's other people doing it too. So whoever you feel drawn to connect in with them so that you can be helped, be guided to your own soul's wisdom, and to know what it feels like when you're in alignment with that and when you're not in alignment with that, and you are just following convention for convention's sake. And convention is, like I say, the death of progress, not just for us as a society, but for you as an individual. You don't want to just conform to conventions just because. We need to be questioning. And if you look at the forefront of any kind of movement, the forefront, the leading edge of anything where there's been massive change, those people were thinking differently. Those people were asking the questions. Now, that doesn't mean that we make others wrong. That doesn't mean that we victimize others. It just means that you are allowed to have your expression without making others wrong. All right? It's okay also to choose to not be around those others, but we still don't want to make them wrong. It's about allowing the fullest expression of who you are. It's about questioning the norm so that you can decide whether that feels like that's something that your soul agrees with or not. And it's okay to agree with it, and it's okay to not agree with it. You are an incredible, unique individual. And I believe the universe, God, Divine Mother, whoever you feel is the universal consciousness of the intelligence behind all of this, wants us to show up in our most beautiful, most highest, most diverse ways. There is unity in diversity. That's one of the sayings of the Balinese. It's their whole culture. It's their kind of banner, right? There is unity in diversity. We start to squash that diversity. We start to squash that lack of convention. We start to just all become, the same. We actually lose unity, right? We lose that sense of togetherness. We're so much more when we are our unique, beautiful self. So go forth and be unique. Be the square peg in the round hole. Tune into what your soul is wanting. Feel the expansion. Feel the love. I love you. And I look forward to seeing all that awesomeness that there is, and more and more and more of it. Celebrate you. You deserve it. All right, my gorgeous souls. Mwah. Have a great day, an amazing week, and see you next time.